Hello, welcome to the coding help for Program 6, the mortgage calculator. As you can see, I've already created my project, Nelson P6. I've created a driver.cpp. I have functions.h waiting and functions.cpp. So let's start in the driver and look and see what the spec wants us to do. Here is the spec. First, present your header and some explanation of the program. Declare the variables you will need in main. This will include the struct variable mort data. Start a play loop with the do while or while structure. Okay, let's see if we can get that part done. We're going to start with our header. Well, we can't call that right away because we haven't created the function. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's go ahead, let's see, void. And let's also go over to functions.cpp. We're going to need to pound include, well, functions.h. Using namespace standard, we're going to need pound include iostream. And we'll see if there's anything else. We can always add it later. So here we are going to see out the header and any information to the user. Okay. So declare variables we're going to need. Oh, look. We're going to need to pound include functions.h here also. There we go. Life is better. So the first variable we need to make is we need to declare our struct variable, and that will be mort info mort data. Whoops, except it doesn't recognize mort info. So let's go over here and add that to our .h file. And so we're going to write struct mort info. And what are we going to put in there? Well, we'll put in our mortgage calculator variables. Okay, so those will be for interest, principal, term. Then we're going to need variables for the start date and for the end date. And what were those variables going to be? They'll be ints. Okay, so there's our struct, and we are able to declare a variable. And now we're going to, we may need some more, like for instance, what? Stringo again. If I do that, I'm definitely going to need pound include string, and then I'll need a using namespace standard. Okay. And maybe something else, whatever it might be, you can always go back and put it there. Okay, so here's my do while loop. I'm going to put while, and I think this is going to be go again equals yes. And then I'm going to initialize this. So we get rid of a few red squigglies. No, it's not. There you go. Okay. So we may need some more variables here. And then I'm going to call ask for loan info. Okay, what do I pass in ask for loan info? I'm going to pass this struct variable. And I guess I had better make this function. Whoops, I'm in the wrong place. Yikes, there we go. So this is mort info, mort data. Yikes. And I'm going to make this also in CPP. What am I missing? I need void. Oops. There, now we'll be happier. Now in here, you're going to ask the user for principal, interest, and term of the loan. We know how to do that. If we look in the tutorial for structs, it shows us how to do it. And then our user, now the struct also contains the start date and the end date. We're going to provide that later. Principal, interest, and the term or the years of the loan are what the user can provide. Okay, so back to the driver and let's see what it says. Also, document in your mortcalc.h file or functions.h how you expect the interest to come into the function. So tell the user what to enter, and if they enter a 5, then you're going to have to divide it by 100. After you've collected the input, call the validate function, passing in a reference to the struct. So, okay, we have some validation to do. And what is that going to look like? It's going to look like validate and mort data. And I believe that we will probably return a bool be okay. Let's see if that's what we're supposed to do. Okay, let's write the validate function and put it in our functions.h first. And we're going to return a bool from that. And semicolon. Let's move that over to the functions.cpp. All right, now what does our spec say? It says call the validate function. This should be in, let's see, I'll make it so we see it better. Passing in a reference to the struct variable. We did that. The maximum loan is $500,000. The principal cannot be less than or equal to 0. The interest rate cannot be less than or equal to 0, and the maximum is 10%. And the only choices for the years is 15, 25, and 30. So we have to check all these items. So I'm going to create a variable, be valid, just to start with. And then I'm going to check the principal. I'll start with the principal. If mort data dot. Okay, so let's check the principal first. If mort data dot principal is greater than 500,000 or mort data dot principal is less than or equal to 0, then what? Be valid equals false. Okay, so, well, spelling error, there we go. So now you guys go and check the other validation conditions. And at the very end, what are we going to do? Return be valid. All right, so we've done that, and now what does it say? If the return from the validate function is true, we're going to call mortcalc, which determines the monthly payment and the total money paid over the life of the loan and the total interest. Okay, and then mortcalc calls the function calculate end of the loan. So let's get mortcalc going here. If be okay is true, whoops, then we're going to call mortcalc, and we're going to return a nicely formatted string. We're going to return a nicely formatted string so that main can display the result to the user. So that's going to be, maybe I need a string over here. String results starts out blank. Okay, so results equals mortcalc. And what are we passing once again? Instead of passing all that information separately, we're just going to pass mort data. Okay, so we need to create that function. That's going to return a string. And we need a semicolon. And I believe, yes, we do. We need to pound include string. Remember, we ran into that in, I think it might be program 5, where if you don't include string, it doesn't give you an error except when you go to call the function, and then it says, well, that's undefined. That's an error. Okay, so what are we going to do here? We're going to calculate the monthly payment, calculate the total amount paid over the life of the loan. Amount. And then we're going to calculate the total amount of interest paid. Alrighty. And then it says here we are going to call calc end of loan. And my guess is that we're going to pass it the same old struct data so that it can place the data into the struct. So, oops, that's incorrect. Well, you know what? I'm going to copy this. I'm going to be lazy here. I'm going to copy this and then go back and fix this, because do we use a data type for calling a function? No, we don't. We just call using the variable name. Okay. And here we are in functions.cpp. And so now we're going to use system date to find today's date. That's the start. Then we're going to figure out the last day of the loan. And you already know how to do that using Human Brain, so you're going to have to figure out how the computer can identify the last day of the loan. And then I think that's all that calc end of loan does. Now, MORDCalc is not finished. It will also create a nicely formatted string with all of the data. When I say all of the data, I mean the principal, interest, term, in years, the start date of the loan, and the ending date of the loan. And you're going to return the string. My guess is you're going to use string stream to create that string. Okay. So there's one more function to worry about. Let's look at the driver. So if BOK is true, we're going to call MORDCalc, and then we are going to call write. We're going to write all of this information in a file, and that is going to be write mort. And yes, what are we going to pass to write mort? Well, we don't need to pass the struct this time because we've done all our calculations. But we should pass the results, and I think we need a file name. So Okay, here's our file name, and let's pass it by, let's see if it says how to pass it so I don't tell you anything wrong. Okay, I think that we pass it by value. So that means we're going to ask for the file name. Where are we going to ask for the file name? We're going to have to ask for it in main. There we go. All right. And if you recall when we wrote last time, I mentioned that you are always going to check and make sure the stream was opened or not. And so we are always going to return a bool. So I'm going to call this one B file OK equals. Okay? And I guess I better declare it. There we go. So now I'm going to create that function right there. Results is a string, and file name is a string. Okay, that worked out pretty well. Now let's go over to functions.cpp. Okay, so what are we going to do in our write file? Not so much, because all the work is done. We're going to open the files stream and open, well, let's call it declare. Declare the file stream object and open the file name. Check that the file is open. If not, return false. There's no point in continuing. You might as well just return false right away. Because if you can't write in the file, there's nothing to do in the write method. And then, otherwise, write results into the file. Close the file. And in this case, we're going to return true. Okay, so we're just about there. What we're going to do here is we're going to check B file OK. If good, tell user the file is written. If not, tell them that too. And now you're going to, if B file OK, if it was valid, then you're going to do all this. If it was not valid, let's do an else over here. Tell the user they had invalid input. Okay? And then ask if they want to go again. And if they do, then they have an opportunity to re-enter the data. Or if they were successful, then they will be having an opportunity to go ahead and try another mortgage amount. Okay, so let's see, what else do we have? Oh yes, and then we need to say goodbye when the user is finished. So I think we've just about done that program. We have our functions.h written. We have our struct. Oops, I wasn't supposed to show you that. And our functions.cpp. See, that doesn't show that any. That shows red squigglies because I took out my principal. So I'll put principal back in. How's that? What is principal? What kind of data type would it be? I am going for an int because these are just large numbers, right? There we go. So there's one of them, and here we go. Now that part works. Okay, so our program is ready to go. Hopefully I didn't forget any logic. Let's check. We created our struct variable. Here is our struct definition. We asked for the loan info. The user is going to tell us the principal, the interest, and how many years it is. We validated to make sure that none of them were out of the parameters that the bank has set right here in validate. And then if it's valid, we calculated everything. And we also found the beginning and end date, and we created a string that described all of the data. And then we passed that string to a write method and asked for a file name. Oh, we forgot to ask for the file name. Ask the user for a file name. Be sure to say the format. For instance, txt. Okay. Then that file name is passed to bfileok. It's in bfileok that we open the file, check to see if it's good, and if it is, we write in the file. We write results into the file, and we return either true or false. Okay, when we're done, we ask the user if they want to go again. If yes, we loop back up here and ask for loan info again, and then if not, we say goodbye. Okay, I think we're all done. If you have any questions, you can always call me or attend office hours, or make an appointment, or come and see me at the eLab. Any one of those will work. Bye.